Has it ever occurred to you that the phrase, "that's how I am," might actually be valid? Let me explain. Now, oftentimes we complain about friends or relatives who behave a certain way. It gets even more annoying when we hear them say, "that's how I am now." I know you can relate. This is in no way justifying bad behavior or habit or character, but technically, that's actually how they are. Now, there are tons of different personality types, some of which I'm sure you're familiar with by now. I could go on and on, but all of these goes to say that different people have different characteristics and behavioral patterns, and this, to a large extent, affects their relationship with people. And that is our anchor reference on the show today. Now, on the odd chances that I do not already have your attention, let me welcome you officially to Fafanua Africa, a youth-based, interactive, educative, and infotaining program where issues are discussed, analyzed, and possible solutions are preferred to these issues as it pertains to the youths across the African continent. Fafanua Africa is Swahili for redefining Africa, and yes, it's time to redefine our continent. So stay with us for the next 1 hour as we discuss personality traits and influence. I'm Blessings Wasugu. Now, there are many factors that affect the success and stability of a relationship. One of the important factors, of course, is personality. Personality traits can affect the dynamics of relationships. Some of these personality traits are classification by temperament, talk about melancholic, choleric, phlegmatic, and sanguine. There's also classification by zodiac signs that some people believe in. That's the Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Virgo, and all that. Now, some would also classify people as thus: architect, logician, commander, and debater. All of these are different classifications of people's personality types or traits. Whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, a neurotic or conscientious, these determines not only what kind of person you are, but also how you deal with other people and how to build and maintain a relationship. However, personality is not everything. It's only a factor that can affect your relationship with somebody. This means that knowing people's personality traits is key to maintaining a healthy relationship with that person. Being aware and conscious of each other's personality helps you to manage the roadblocks and the challenges you have in your relationship, both with your friends, your family, your partner, whoever it is. It helps you manage relationships better. I'm sure by now you know that it's not about to be a monologue. So I'd like to welcome my guests on the show today. First off, I'll be starting by welcoming Gift Best Jr., a personal development trainer. Thank you so much, Gift, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Blessing, for having me here today. It's a privilege to be here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
I've watched a couple of times, and I just want to say that this is a conversation that I was actually looking forward to. I believe it's something that is important to every young person out there.
Right.
Thank you so much for having me.
Most definitely. Thank you once again, Gift, for being here. Also, we have Kaylin Ugokwe, a psychotherapist and founder of St. K Foundation. Thank you so much, Kaylin, for joining us.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure. And last but definitely not the least, my studio guest this morning or afternoon, whatever time you're watching, Ayowale Kumolu, a personal social growth advocate. Thank you so much, Ayowale, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. You're my studio guest, so I'll be a bit partial, you know. All right, thanks for joining. All right, so of course we have Gift, we have Kaylin and Ayowale. So let's dive into our conversation today, shall we? I will start by asking, what exactly do you think about personality traits? Gift, I'll start with you. What is your thought on personality traits?
All right, thank you so much. So I like to start with saying that sometimes when we look at people, we try to assume that people are acting off of what is happening to them, right? We try to assume that people are responding to life the way life actually is. But to a very large extent, people simply respond to life the way they are wired. And research has shown that it doesn't just take the mother and the father to conceive someone. takes about 6 people, 4 grandparents and 2 parents to conceive someone. So I believe the personality trait simply is the genetic makeup that was used to, form an individual. So it basically is the entire being of who a person is. And amazingly, this discussion today, I'm excited about it because it's something that is relevant to the society, because society has this thing where we are judging people on the surface, how they are responding to issue, not first of all realizing how they were built. Like you said earlier when we started the conversation, this is just the way I am. So I believe our personality trait is simply the genetic makeup that is used for an individual to make an individual.
Great. That's a great perspective to look at it. Thank you so much, Gift. Kaling, what's your opinion on that?
Simply put, personality trait is basically how we tend to consistently think, feel, and then react to the world around you. So when you look at the simple definition of this, you see that like Gift rightly said, it is basically everything that makes you who you are, your personality, the characteristics of your personality, the elements that makes you. So that's just simple definition of it. I don't want to go ahead to talk about industry jargons and all that, but simply put, that's just it.
Okay, great. Ayowale, it's over to you.
Okay, I think it boils down to your uniqueness. What makes you who you are? I don't think that I'm going to say anything basically different from what they've said so far. It means that what makes you, you. So when you hear people say that this is who I am, actually, in the right sense of it, that is who they are. And you cannot take that personality, that is who I am, out of them. So it is what makes them. It is what makes them different from other people. I think I belong to that school of thought too.
Well, okay, I think I'd like to circle back on that and talk about this same thing from the other perspective. Now, a lot of times you see two friends who maybe had a fallout or maybe had an argument or a fight or something, and one of them is like, she's always saying that's how she is. Can't she just, make amends? Can't she just become somebody different? Can she change? So a lot of times we expect people to change to suit us, which is, it's not too much to ask, to be honest, but, technically speaking, it's not easy for somebody to change their character or habit. So what do we say about that then? Do we say that how a person reacts to another person's personality also matters?
Yes, it definitely matters. You can't take, no matter how much you want me to change, you can't take me out of me. You cannot. Of course, human being evolves. It's important that we understand that we evolve. What we do is we grow, we develop based on the makeup we have, but we don't grow into someone else. What we do is we develop who we are and become a better version of who we are, not changing to someone else entirely. So it is very important that someone understands that it is not, I don't want this person to change to who I want him to be, but I want this person to be a better version that suits, it might not suit you actually, it doesn't compulsorily have to suit you, but it definitely we all need to, grow and develop. So I don't need anyone to change. All I need is you be a better version of yourself.
Okay, I'm going to put an asterisk on the word change. We're going to come back to talk about that. Well, there you have it. Some of the youth across Africa had those words to say about personality trait. Now, back to our conversation. Of course, I still have my guests with me, Gift, Kaling, and of course, I have Ayowale in the building. Now, I said that I was going to put an asterisk on the word change. So, Gift, I'm going to ask you this very simple but very, very controversial question. Do people change?
Well, I think that question is a question that's relative, because I think what we try to do in the society is sometimes we try to get the fish to climb a tree, sometimes. But naturally, the fish is not designed to climb a tree. You can tell the human being to climb a tree. It has legs, it has hands, it can climb the tree. But the fish is designed to swim in the river. So, but the fish itself, even though it's designed to swim in the river, the fish can learn how to swim better in the river. So that is its natural habitat. So I think sometimes the issue about change when it comes to people is the fact that sometimes we try to make people, or you're in a relationship with someone, let's say someone who is a sanguine, naturally the person wants to talk. So, but you are a melancholy or something, and you want this person to not just talk every time. So sometimes we try to push people to change in the direction of who they are not. But actually, the only thing people can do, or the most people can do when it comes to change, is they can become a better version of themselves. So whatever temperament they have, whatever personality they have, they can try to, master it. They can try to own some of their characters, some of their behaviors. They can try to become a better version of themselves. But sometimes when we try to push people to change into someone that they naturally are not, so that's where you see people try to pretend to be who they are not. And at the end of the day, it just limits the uniqueness that each person has, especially in relationships. When you go into a relationship with someone, let's say the person had an ex before, an ex who used to buy them gifts because of their love languages and all of that. And then you get into a relationship with someone new, and then you're expecting this person to be buying you gifts, showing you all kinds of languages that is not the person's natural love languages. At the end of the day, you see relationships breaking because you are expecting this person to evolve into something that they are not. A lion cannot evolve to become a fish, right? But a lion can learn how to run faster. The lion can learn how to master its environment faster and all of that. So I think change, when it comes to change, people can actually change to become a better version of themselves, but not an entirely new species or entirely new kind of person as most people expect them to in the society today.
All right, thank you so much for that. I mean, that was just to buttress what Ayowale said earlier, that you can become a better version of yourself, but you cannot change to become someone entirely different. But that brings me to another question. So would we now say, Kaling, that it is justified to cut people off because you feel like there is no compatibility? And by compatibility, I'm not just talking about relationships. I'm not just talking about romantic relationships now. I'm talking about even friendships. Let's say, for example, I'm the kind of person who likes to go all out for my friends. I like to, if you call me at 12 a.m., I'm there. You're at the hospital, I'm by your side. I leave everything I'm doing and I come to you. But then I have friends who, they care, but they will still choose their work over me. They will choose their sleep and rest time over me. So is it justified if I now say that this person is not like me, I can't be friends with them? Or is there a way to work out friendship without having to cut people off? Because, from what we have just discussed, it is very easy to say that we are two different kinds of people and we cannot work together, so we can't be friends. But then again, is there a way to create a balance between those kinds of persons?
Yes, there is. There is. First of all, going back to what Gift talked about, change. When we talk about change, you need to consider the context when you talk about change. People can change, but then again, people can't really change. When I say people can change, I mean they can change in the aspect of what they do. That's the behavioral aspect. They can learn to change. But when you talk about traits, it's inherent. It's not really something that they have control over. So using the scenario you just mentioned, you're someone who likes going all out for your friends, but they don't really respond to you that way. They don't give that in return. So it's not, I wouldn't say you should cut them off, although you should consider that some people in certain relationships are intentionally manipulative. Yes, there are people who do that. But when that is not the case, what we need to do is to try to understand each other's personality type, our personality traits. That's what we need to do. So you need to understand that your friends are not really those kind of people. They don't have that personality. So your friends in turn need to also understand that you are the way you are. So it's just a matter of finding a common ground. So you meet in the middle. It's 50-50. You put in the work, I put in the work, and everything is working fine. So let's say your friend calls you out by 12 a.m., 1 a.m. I need help. Oh, can you help me? And then you come out excited to help. You help the person. When it's your turn, of course, you're expecting that they come out by the same time to help you. You could understand, okay, the person is not really like this. The person must not respond exactly the way I responded. So you can cut the person a little slack, but your friend needs to understand too, this is what my friend is expecting me to do. This is how she is. So she might be expecting the same reaction. So the person should, if the person cannot make it, the person should be able to explain to you, see how it is. This is what's happening. This is why I can't make it. And that way you find a middle ground. It's all about communication. The two of you, you need to understand your communication style. Each personality type has different communication styles. So you understand your communication style, and then active listening. You need to listen to each other to be able to understand how you respond to issues, how you respond to the world around you, and how to deal with it. Not saying, okay, I can't work with this person is totally different from who I am, so let me cut them off. No, you find a middle ground. If not, we will all be living as, we'll just be living in a cave, individual cave, just living alone because we can't work with each other. Even people with similar personality types or the same personality types, you find out that somewhere along the line, they can have a little misunderstanding. So that's my take on it.
All right, thank you so much. I mean, that's spoken like a true psychotherapist. Thank you so much for that, Kayling. Okay, Ayo, Wale, I would also like for us to talk about taming personality traits. Is it a possibility to tame personality? We're still talking about creating balance, right? So say, for example, I'm a very outspoken person. I am blunt to a fault. And then we're friends and you're telling me that, you don't always have to tell people the way it is. And I'm like, that's how I am. I can't just see something. If this person is ugly, I'm just gonna say that the person is ugly. So is there a possibility that personality traits can be tamed or controlled?
I don't think there is anything in life that can be controlled. First off, we need to be aware of the effect our personality or our attitude has on the other party. Mm-hmm. So it is very important that we are self-aware, because you can't say this is who I am and then you keep blasting people every time and you keep getting people sad because of things you say to them. So it is important that we are also conscious and as well cautious of how our personality affects other people around us. In fact, that comes to the place of understanding other people's personality traits. Now, some people are naturally receptive, while others are not. Some people, when you say one word, they are interpreters. They already have like 1,000 interpretations of what you just said in one word.
Yeah.
So even when you don't mean to say something to hurt people, you just realize that there are some people that you just say the same thing to, and they sit down and have like 10 million interpretations. They call them overthinkers.
Yes.
Now, if you are self-aware that I am a very blunt person, and this person is an overthinker, then it is important that you look at how to balance, how to, edit your words. So there is a position of having to reduce the volume, adjust who you are sometimes, so that it doesn't affect others negatively. Negatively.
That's fine, it happens. Okay, so that means that there is definitely room for filter. It doesn't always have to be said as you see it.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for that. Now, I would also like to ask, and that's coming back to Gift, of course, is it possible to outgrow a personality? Now, I've also seen in situations where a person growing up was very timid, very shy, couldn't relate, couldn't connect with people, was always having social anxiety. But I mean, after like how many years, the person becomes the loudest person in the room, cannot even sit down in one place and stuff like that. And then they'll tell you by themselves that they didn't used to be like this. They don't know what happened. So is it a possibility to outgrow someone's personality?
Well, I wouldn't say it's outgrowing a personality. I would say it's modifying a personality and a character, because most of what people do is just a character, which is a representation of their personality. For instance, like the illustration you just made, I think I'm a critical example of that. I remember back then in school, I really couldn't put my words together. I was the kind of person that you would call to come out in front of the class, and I wouldn't be able to stand in front of the class and communicate my thoughts. And amazingly, I had a lot of them, right? But as I began to consume information, as I changed my environment, as I began to expose myself to new experiences, new people, associations, and all of that. So all of these characters that I had, behaviors that can easily be attributed to my personality, because I'm naturally a melancholy, right? So all of these attributes of being shy, being unable to communicate my words, not having a lot of words to say and all of that, they just started, being modified. So I could just literally find myself hosting webinars, find myself talking to a large crowd of people because of the information I was exposed to, because of the association, and because I just, try to master the aspect of myself that was limited. So I think generally it starts from what Ayowale mentioned, actually. It starts from awareness. When people understand the kind of temperament they have, when they understand the kind of personality traits that they have, if it's a good thing, they can try to amplify it, right? If it's a kind of bad thing that is bad to the path that they've chosen in life. Let's say you're someone who wants to be a public speaker and you are an introvert. So it's going to come to a point where you have to talk to yourself, that, I need to be better at this. I need to be able to communicate my words. I need to be able to interact with people. So this is something that you know that you need in your life. But you know that because of your personality makeup, because of who you are not naturally able to do these things. So that is the extent where people start going for exposures, start going for information, start practicing. I literally had to practice my way to being able to speak to people, because sometimes I'd find myself in the room talking, trying to master my words. I'd go over the slide that I have for presentation, and over and over and over again, I started finding myself able to communicate. So I think at the end of the day, when people become aware of who they are, they are able to amplify in the right direction, right? And then when people become aware as well, when they have bad traits, not bad in quotes, but traits that people don't find interesting, like you're just so boring, for instance, you can try to modify the way you relate with people, try to talk, especially when you're...
Thank you, Gift, for mentioning modification, right? I think I'm going to take Hailing up on that. Now, still talking about modification of character, I don't know if this happens to any of you, but sometimes when you watch a very interesting movie or you're seeing a series for a long time and there's this character that just maybe interests you, the first few maybe hours after watching that series, or even while you're watching the series, somehow your mind begins to embody that personality. You begin to subconsciously talk like them. You begin to subconsciously walk like them, think like them. Now, that is most often temporary, but it happens in mentorship where over time, you start seeing that their mannerisms are the same, vocabulary the same, they speak alike, they walk alike. The mentee has morphed into the mentor. So that brings me to asking, is it possible to learn and become a different personality?
It's possible to learn. Like I previously said when we were talking about changing, you can change, but you can't really change. When I mean you can change, you can learn to embody, like you said, a different personality, but it is not permanent. It's just temporary, it's just for a limited amount of time. And even in that time, that period, you will find your true personality somewhere inside. Someone who's really listening, who's paying close attention, who can still tell. You understand? So that's why actors can act. That's why singers can sing. Some singers, you hear them say, they didn't used to be able to sing. They didn't used to be able to stand in front of the crowd, like Gift rightly said. Okay, he wants to be a public speaker, but he never used to be outspoken. So you can have a personality and learn to behave like another personality. So that's just two different things. But it is not permanent. It's just for a limited amount of time. And we also need to consider the fact that we do not have exactly one trait. When you talk about personality types and personality traits, they are similar, but they are also two different things. Personality types gives room. It gives more room to classify people's characters, people's elements, classify their personality. But trait is just like the characteristics, the elements, what makes up one personality. Then when you look at the different personality types, you can now see different traits in there. So why am I mentioning this now? When Gift talked about the sanguine and the melancholic, you don't just have a sanguine personality. You don't have it in your personality and then none other. You can have the four. You can have sanguine, you can have melancholy, you can have phlegmatic, you can have choleric, the four of them. But which percent is higher than the other? Which is more outstanding in percentage? So you can see that it's possible that while growing up, a child's personality, you can find more of the introverted part, which is the melancholic part. But growing up while developing, there are changes that happen to us, not just in our body, but psychologically. So when you consider that, you see that the person might tend, while developing, while growing up, might tend more to either the choleric side or the sanguine side. So that's just it.
Right. Okay, thank you so much for that, Kayling. Now it's time for us to go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be taking reactions from social media, and of course, we'll be continuing this very important discourse. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Fafanua Africa, and we have been talking about personality traits and relationships. Now, we've talked about personalities and their types, but I would like for us to look at the flip side of the coin. We need to talk about personality disorder. You know that coworker or classmate or even family member that acts kind of weird? Yeah, that person is most likely suffering a personality disorder. So I would like for us to talk about personality disorders, what causes it. I mean, PD involves long-term patterns of thoughts and behaviors that are different from what is considered normal in the culture, in the society, in the workplace, wherever it is. The thoughts and behaviors are unhealthy and inflexible. They cause very serious problems with relationships, with work, and of course, social activities. Now, having personality disorders is already a challenge in itself. It does not come as a surprise that people with personality disorders struggle with maintaining a healthy relationship. Now, often, minor conflicts escalate. Some cling to their partners or friends or family, while others become distant and push people away. And in most cases, the latter is usually the situation. However, a relationship with someone with a personality disorder is workable. It takes a lot of effort on both sides in order to maintain a healthy and secure attachment. This boils down to understanding and, of course, supporting each other. Like I said earlier, this is not a monologue. I still have my guests with me. I still have Gift. I have Ayowale in the studio. And, of course, I have Kayling. So, guys, let's talk about personality disorder. What do you think, starting with Gift now, what are the causes of personality disorder, in your opinion?
Well, in my opinion, even though there are a lot of medical research that says before a child is born, there are a lot of conditions, there are a lot of circumstances that informs the behavior of that child. But I would say that sometimes because generally what we do now is when we see people, we judge their behaviors, but we don't understand that behaviors are merely a fruit. They are merely a function of an inner experience, inner trait, what has happened to the person, what the person has been through. So you find someone who is naturally abusive. They are abusive in a relationship, and then you try to conclude that, oh, naturally this person is abusive. But then when you take a look back, when you try to trace the person's history, you get to discover that, oh, this person has suffered abuse. This person has gone through this. This person came from a broken home. Now, I'm not saying that people that come from a broken home, they are abusive, but the experiences that people have has a large contribution to their behavior, to the disorders that some of these people have. So at the end of the day, it becomes a composition of every element that has formed their personality behaviors. Because people can be one thing and behave another thing. You can see people who are naturally kind. They are givers, because this is a personality trait. They are givers. But because these people have experienced lack, they've experienced certain disappointment when they gave to people and they didn't get back. And a lot of these experiences now made them to, oh, when you see them, they are people who, they just struggle with you when you take something that belongs to them and it looks like a disorder. So I think sometimes one of the factors that affects largely a disorder in people, what we call disorder in people, it's experiences that they've had. Now, environment is also an important one. People who grew up in there's this story of a guy who he grew up in a home where the father was abusing the mother, beating the mother and everything. So this guy went into a relationship with a girl and eventually he started beating the girl. And then you would want to say that this guy he's abusive, is this, is that, it could be his personality. But now, when you take a look back, you would get to discover that this person is a function, is behaving because of the environment that he grew up in, because of the experiences that they had.
Right.
So even though there are medical reasons for disorders, I say also that people's experience contribute largely to their disorderly behaviors.
All right, thank you so much for that gift. Also, very quickly, I would like to ask Ayowale, how do you think that people can relate to these people suffering personality disorder?
I think it boils down to understanding. You can't just see somebody, you need to first identify what is this person going through, what are his or her experiences. Before this can happen, before this person starts to behave this way, what is the root cause of it? So that sometimes you don't just generalize. So because this person behaves this certain way, it must be because he just wants to behave that way. No. Sometimes it could be experiences like Gift said. So you need to trace it back to what happened. How did this person become this? Then it will now help you to make your judgment. Okay, what am I to do? How do I help this person? How do I seek help for this person? First off, you also need to understand that there are certain people that want to create their distance. Sometimes you have to give them the distance so that you will help this person to understand that I'm with you in this journey. I want to help you, but if you want me to stay this way and help you through this channel, then I will take it. So I think it boils down to understanding what the person is going through.
Very rightly so. Thank you so much for that. Now it's time for us to take a look at the tweets, what the tweets are saying about personality traits. And of course, we'll read it out loud. Here it goes. Now, Sheriff says, don't let people's view change your personality. Just be yourself and evolve. Evolving is more important. Now, someone else says, I just read someone saying we should not take what people say or do seriously. So are we supposed to assess people's personality with the size of their nose? I'm confused. Please go outside and touch sand. Okay, violent. Now, Nopolelo says, I'm learning not to be fooled by personality and to invest more in people's characters. I think that's another conversation to be had. Now, Brian says, I don't know why people who become obsessed with psychology and personality types are the children who were never understood at home. Okay, so he's just trying to say that people give excuses based on their personality. Now, Michael says, the types of people are basically their personalities. I've seen that people can have any personality, though, and the idea they have just one is an illusion. It's all about what you can attach your feelings to. Now, another one says, it's commendable if you can understand the personality types of the people around us, especially those in our close circle like family and friends. Just think in this way, no misjudgments, no misunderstandings, no disputes, just respect. All right. Well, that's it for TWIPs, what the TWIPs were saying about personality. But in the meantime, I would like for us to come back to this conversation. Now, let me go straight to Kaling. There's this thing that happens where a lot of persons do not exactly know how to maintain relationships, not because they don't want to, but because a lot of times it feels overwhelming for them. I'll use myself as an example, right? Growing up, I didn't exactly know, you know that thing they say, out of sight is out of mind? Yeah. So I didn't exactly know how to keep up with people. Once you're on site, we talk, like I love your company, but when you're not, in my sight, I just feel like, till we see again. So a lot of people like that do not know how to keep relationships. I mean, especially now that we're all adulting and, there's the job, there's the family to take care of, there's bills to pay. You don't exactly have time to think about all the friends that you have. But some people now pick offenses with that. So would you say that not knowing how to keep friendships or check in on people is a personality trait or a personality disorder?
It could be part of a personality trait, but not a personality disorder. It's not a personality disorder. A lot of things need to be examined and considered before you can diagnose someone with a particular personality disorder. And you need to know what you're looking for before you can diagnose that, because there are over 10 different personality disorders. So coming back to that, I think what happens is that some people are like that, like you rightly said. But when you realize you're like that, which is why we're on this topic, understanding personality types, noticing your personality traits. When you see yourself in that position, what do? For instance, I'm similar to what you just explained. When I'm not in the same environment with certain people, I don't call, I don't text. I completely forget, like it doesn't cross my mind. But there are points when I sometimes remember the person. I'm like, oh, I've not spoken to this person in a long time. So what do you do? What do I do? What I've learned to do is, I know I'm not that type that would know how to keep in touch. I'll either on the spot send a text message, hey, I'm just checking in on you. Or I could call. If I'm in a place where I can't call, I'll just send you WhatsApp message, just something, try to reach out. So the person doesn't feel like, okay, if I don't reach out to this person, the person would not. Also, the person on the other end, remember we talked about building this relationship being a 50-50. You know that there are some people, when we have friends, circle of friends, we know that this person is like this person is like this person is like this. So when you've noticed this person, if I don't call this person will probably not reach out to me till the next time we see or bump into each other. Maybe once in a while you could try reaching out to the person, and then you could say, I know that if I didn't reach out to you, you will probably not remember to. So just approach the person in a gentle, kind manner, not being too harsh about it, because you understand this person is this way. But it's still not enough reason to put your foot forward to maintain the relationship. So it's a 50-50 thing.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Kaling. Now, Gift, I would also like for us to talk about, go back to people that we talked about earlier. That's those suffering personality disorder. Do you think that if these people enjoy healthy relationships, that's with their spouses, their family, their friends, do you think that it can, in a way, heal them?
Well, there are a lot of conditions that is to be considered to be able to actually say that. Number one is, these people, do they know that they have a problem? Because there are people that don't know that what their behavior is a problem. There are people that they have this, what we call the disorder, but they don't realize that this thing, the way you behave, what you do, is actually affecting other people. So when this person understands, it's easy for them to get help. It's easy for them to be loved into behaving better, acting better. But when this person doesn't understand that, the way you behave is a problem, it's hard to actually, because they said that you can force the donkey to the river, but you can't force it to drink. So it would be difficult for you to actually render not just help, but to actually build a healthy relationship with this person, because they want to stick to the fact that, this is the way I behave, this is who I am, don't try to change me. Anybody, we live in a generation where people want their voices to be heard. So this person is going to just cling on to the fact of who they are, but they don't realize that their behavior is affecting all the people around them. So when this person understands that, the way I behave is a problem, it's easy for them to work through an understanding. So let's say this person is someone that excessively gets angry, so it's easy for you to say, calm down. When you're talking with them, the person realizes that, they are raising their voice too much. They become angry. They're trying to break a lot of things, all of that. So when they realize this, it's easy for you to try to calm them when that kind of situation arises. So I believe people that have disorders, they can actually have a healthy relationship, but it starts from them understanding that what they have is a problem. Because this is one of the reasons most relationships don't survive that.
Right.
Because the person who has the problem thinks is the other person that has the problem. So
Very
they don't
true.
want to get help. So
Very
when
true.
you even try to help them, they want to behave that, you are the one with the problem, you are demanding too much, you are asking for too much and all of that. So when the person understands that they have a problem, it's easier for you to offer help. And of course, they can have a healthy relationship. But there are a lot of people who are willing to make the sacrifice to walk through all of that.
Right.
A lot of people who wants to love people for who they are. But when you don't understand that who you are actually is a problem to the people around you, it's difficult.
Right. I think from our conversation so far, two things I'll pick out is it boils down to understanding, like you all have said, and then communication is another key thing that a lot of people do not consider, in relationships. So very quickly, Ayowale, I would like to ask finally, can we say that one thing that affects people's behavior, especially maybe towards others or even, to the people around them, is lack of self-awareness? Because sometimes you don't exactly know the extent to which you can react to a problem. You don't exactly know yourself to the core. So sometimes you see yourself reacting this way and then you're trying to change to become someone else, and that is chaotic on its own. So it's affecting people around you. So can we say that lack of self-awareness is a big problem in relationships?
Yes, actually. I have not seen any problem that is bigger than lack of self-awareness. If you understand yourself, you know to which extent you want to go. Mm-hmm. Okay, for instance, I have a friend who wants to get married, and I know myself to be somebody who is not always all out. Mm. So I would have prepared myself enough. Guy, this is your wedding. This is the length at which I can go. So if I am aware of what I can do, I know how to communicate what I can do to my friend. So it doesn't become a problem later that, when it was his wedding, I was there or not. So that is where self-awareness comes in. It's very key to sustaining any relationship.
Right. Okay, thank you so much for that. I'd like to use this opportunity to say thank you so much to my guests. First of all, Gift Best Junior, personal development trainer. Thank you so much for joining me. And of course, Kaylin Ugukwe, a psychotherapist and founder of K Foundation. Thank you both for joining me. And my in-house guest, Ayowale Kumolu, personal social growth advocate. Thank you so much for joining me as well. You all have been fantastic, and I'm hoping to have you on the show once again some other time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
All right, we have some short but very profound expressions by African icons that pertain to relationships and personality traits in our time. Do take a look. The youth are constantly on a journey of self-realization and self-awareness, but in the end, Being aware of your personality traits as well as that of the people around you can greatly benefit your relationship. By knowing how people deal with different situations, you can relate easier with one another. Now, it's been an amazing 1 hour packed program, and thanks to all our guests for making that very possible. I'm sure you enjoyed this segment, and I'm sure you learned a thing or two. Join me again, same time, same station next week as we bring you another episode of Fafanua Africa. Till then, my name is Blessings Osugu. Do have a lovely day.